Well, I wanted to thank all of our guests for joining us today. We know everyone has a lot on their plate, and I assure you that today will not disappoint. It's my absolute honor to introduce Nancy Epstein, founder and chairman of the board of Artistic Tile, in conversation with brand ambassador Roy Marcus, live from Nancy's exquisite outdoor oasis, to talk about creating the perfect outdoor entertaining space.
Well, Nancy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Margot, please.
It's okay. I want to thank you both very much for compiling this program for us today. Artistic Tile and Decorative Materials, Nancy and Margot, go back 25 years. And we still choose them as our #1 supplier of tile and stone. We just love their products. Nancy has an ability to be so incredibly innovative and a team to support her in that endeavor. And every month we get so excited waiting for that box to come with all the new products. So without further ado, Nancy and Roy, take it away, and you will all learn how Nancy created this space and what beautiful products from Artistic she has in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both so much. And welcome to Take It Outside. We're here in Tenafly, New Jersey. Nancy has lived here for 41 years, I believe.
41 years.
41 years. Raised her family here and chooses to live until very, very recently, no place but here. And
against my will.
So she has created truly an outdoor oasis. You know, Margot and Kirsten couldn't have been more correct about this space. I've had the pleasure of being entertained here and know just how special it is. And this is a family place. And one of the things that I think that this can teach us, because I think a beautiful space can always teach us a lot as people within the design trade, is that a family place is really special and requires us to bring our very best game to the project. So whether you're the luxury homeowner or you're the architect or designer who's working on that space, outdoor spaces, never more important than they are right now, and they deserve to be treated with every bit of care that the kitchen or the powder or the master or the primary or the secondary bathrooms do within the home. And we all know that people get fixated on, you got to take care of the kitchen, you got to take care of the powder, because everyone sees those. Nowadays, everyone sees all of this.
Well, for me, Roy, nowadays has been a long time,
right?
Because with my work and life schedule, my backyard has always been my escape place, my paradise. So from May until the middle of September for the tile shows in Italy, I really try not to travel anywhere, and I'm traveling the rest of the year. So this is the place I want to be. My backyard is heaven. And what is quite amazing about it is we are, what, 5 miles from Manhattan?
So close.
It's
and
absolutely
a world
great.
away.
And a world away.
I'd like us to take a little tour of the space. We've got some video to share with you that will let you orient yourself within this extraordinary space, because it's a series of spaces, and that by itself is a lesson in how to build out an outdoor oasis.
Well, I should temper this whole discussion by saying and explaining that we bought what is a tract house. And we bought this house 41 years ago, and it's a tract house. It's suburban sprawl, one of the first suburban communities built outside of New York. And over the years, we have just worked on adding on a little bit here and there, but working with the confines of the original building format. And the backyard, which used to be a playground, that's now a tennis court. And we've just continued to add and change the space because our backyard has always been our heaven.
So when you leave the interior of the space, the first thing you encounter is a dining space. And you come down from that space into a very beautiful pool.
Which was here when we bought the house.
So,
as was the kitchen in the front of the house.
Right. So the pool is a especially shimmering, beautiful space. Away. One of the best things about coming to have dinner with you in the summertime is that the grandchildren will always be here, always enjoying this space. So when we talk sometimes about heritage spaces or legacy spaces, spaces that would be handed down from one generation to the next, and as we know that our materials will last far longer than a generation.
Far longer.
So having those kind of spaces within your home are super duper important.
I really think that in today's world where we talk about being green and how important it is to be green, that we need to leave the old mindset of you're building for resale, or you're building to flip it, or you're building and the next person will just knock it down. We really need to start the discussion about building for inheritability. Our homes should be, we're filling our homes with products of permanence, and our homes should have permanence, and they should be left for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation to enjoy, much as it is in the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
We would reduce our footprint in the world greatly if instead of always knocking down and rebuilding, we would build with quality products that we love.
And this space has evolved. So after you enjoy the pool area, you would come down a flight of stairs and you would be in this space, which is simply known as the pergola. So Nancy, you're a phenomenally well-traveled person. In Colorado, we would generally find you in the winter on the slopes because she's an expert skier and a very dedicated one.
We can't say that in front of the decorative material girls. Nobody can ski like Kirsten.
So you would come down here to this space, which is indeed it has a pergola above it. So the pergola above us has given its name to the entire space.
Right.
And this evolved. This was simply a cleared space that you had not yet addressed, and you created this extraordinary environment here based on ones you'd seen in Italy. Can you talk about the spaces that inspired this one?
Oh, my favorite vineyard, therefore my favorite place to visit, is a small vineyard in Tuscany named Borgo San Felice. And when you're in Borgo, it was originally a workers' village, and they converted the village houses into hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. And there's a beautiful alleyway going to the Enoteca that is just arched with grapevines, and the whole feeling and the spirit of it, it's spectacular. So what you can't see now, because it's springtime and they're not fully in bloom, is that our pergola is covered in grapevines. Unfortunately, unlike Tuscany, our grapes don't taste so good, and you certainly wouldn't make wine out of them, but the effect is the same. It's just beautiful to be sitting here and having the grapes flowing down. And last year, I hope this year repeats it, the grapes were their best ever. It was just, they looked like they were out of picture books.
It was really beautiful. I remember just what it was like last year. And you're getting a shot at something that I'd like to talk about for a moment. And that is that this pergola, from this pergola hangs a chandelier designed for outdoor use.
Yes.
And it's a very classical Italianate chandelier, because inside Nancy's house are two very magnificent Italianate glass chandeliers.
Right. I guess about 25 or 30 years ago, my husband and I were walking down the street in Florence, and I spotted chandeliers in the window of a store, and I said, gotta have those. It's like, there you go, you can see them right now. He said, where are you gonna put them? I said, we'll figure it out. We've gotta have them. So here they are, and we designed our living space around it.
And you can see that there's a grid in there, rather like a pergola.
There is,
so
I never thought
of it. The pergola that
right.
preceded this one.
Right. That instead of grapevines in the living room, we have onyx hanging from the ceiling, which is a beautiful reflection of light. So I really wanted the same feeling outside, the old and the new, the mixture, which is the design style that I like the most. I think I'm contemporary, other people think I'm traditional. So I found this, I was looking for a chandelier, because to me, nothing creates the warmth in a space, in any space, in a showroom, in a home, like a chandelier. So I wanted the pergola to have a chandelier and wall sconces, which are also behind me.
So the pergola gave its name to the space. The space that's behind us right now, which you can see is covered in a beautiful glass mosaic. This one is called Walden. And this was very specifically inspired by something that is just beyond where our cameras are located right now, so you can't see it, but it's effectively a lily pond. This is called Walden.
And we got the frogs today.
We saw the frogs today, named after the most famous pond in America, Walden Pond, which so inspired Thoreau, a century and a half ago. you've got a pond right over there that your grandchildren love because the frogs jump in and out. And it's especially bucolic, the bubbling sound of the water.
And the frogs
divine.
at night is just beautiful because besides having the chandelier for the aesthetics, I have it because we really like to be out here in the evening and listening to the frogs and the noises they make and the relaxation, the sounds of the water. It's an enchanting space and we love it. So Roy was discussing the levels, and the levels are different levels of entertaining at the same time. So the upper level is where we eat our main courses. The middle level is where we swim and we have appetizers frequently. And the pergola is where we normally would serve dessert and or drinks, depending on how hot it is outside. Because of the grapevines, it's naturally shaded here. So if it's a really brutal hot day, too hot to even be under the umbrellas, we come to the pergola.
Very green air conditioning.
Very green, very green.
So this space, the space that's right behind us, so you're seeing a wall covered in Walden, and Walden is one of our custom mosaics from our, this one in particular, from our Jazz Club collection. So we have here, this Walden is created in your very favorite color, which is
Blue.
Blue, right? And 3 shades of blue over there plus white. But there are dozens of shades of glass. And by the way, this is the same kind of glass. It's referred to as art glass, stained glass sometimes, that you see in ecclesiastical buildings all over the world. It's what Louis Comfort Tiffany built his whole career on, those magnificent glass spaces that he created, which continue to inspire us.
Continue to.
Are here, the same kind of glass used so beautifully for this space, which Colorado folk from the mountain states, is good for freeze thaw. In other words, you can use it outside on exterior walls, and it doesn't fear what happens in the winter to spring months when temperatures go up and down and up and down. It has no fear. This has been very happy in some very severe weather in northern New Jersey for years now.
Yes, this is, I think, 4 years old.
Right. And for glass.
And what we had before this was also glass.
Right.
And this is our second version of this pergola, because we had an issue and continue to have issues with carpenter bees, who they got so through the wood on the ceiling that in a bad storm, the entire roof structure of the pergola collapsed. So I should also mention, which we never bring up, that the columns we brought in from Italy. So there are marble columns supporting the grapevines, and the roots of the vines come out right below each of the columns.
It's spectacular. So on the other side,
Well, let's go back to jazz glass.
Yes.
We were enthralled by jazz glass because in natural stone, it's so hard to get all of these incredible colors.
Yes.
So if you're looking for color, something that we're seeking, and you're looking for pattern, nothing can give it to you like the jazz glass.
Absolutely. And there are dozens of colors to choose from. We stock it in wonderful colorways. And one of the colorways that we stock, which we call Detroit Blues, is actually used on another feature of this space, which is a fireplace. If we can take a look at that, you'll see that Nancy created this wonderful fire feature. It's a box completely covered in our hip herringbone jazz glass in Detroit Blues, and the flame comes out of a bed of iridescent glass baubles. Mm-hmm. It's a combination of fire and iridescence and color and sophistication that's just unbeatable. So beautiful. And that colorway, that Detroit Blues that you see in the fireplace, is also just on the other side of this wall that's behind us, where this effectively backsplash turns into a shower and lavatory combination in a single room. It's so intelligently functional. And there is nothing quite so lovely, I believe, as taking a shower under the sky. You know,
especially with the grapes.
With the grapes hanging over.
And the birds flying past. It's a beautiful,
and you see that
outdoor space.
The jazz glass that we've used in the shower that's just behind us is our foliage. A wonderful design that looks like leaves have just accumulated and scattered and blown hither, thither, and yon, and just incredibly graceful.
The one thing I should point out is when designing an outdoor bathroom and lavatory, or toilet as we frequently call them, it's really hard to figure out a way to recess your toilet paper so that it doesn't get wet when it rains. And we finally found a recess that would go into the wall and close and seal well enough that the paper would keep dry. For years, I just had a Moroccan pot and a pot for the pot.
Right. But it's, you know, it's such a winning space, that space. It's such a pleasure to be in. And, you know, it's brilliantly functional, as you described, but it's just another lovely space in a series of very beautiful spaces. And then there are paths that go through this garden. You know, we've talked about the fact that this is 7 miles from Midtown, something like that. 5 miles, yep. And yet you could feel on these paths going through here that you're in a mountain, you know, that you're going down an alpine path. It's been planted so specifically, you know. So one of the things that we hope our audience will glean from all of these things that we've just shared and that we're still going to share is that these materials are quite perfect for outdoor in your market. If you're in Colorado or any place in the Northeast or the Pacific Northwest where freeze thaw occurs just the way
you
that
can still
it
use
does
it
here.
even if it's not freeze thaw, but
Plus,
it survives freeze thaw beautifully.
Right. And in so much nicer a fashion than porcelain might. You know, it just is a whole other world. One of the things that we believe, and that I know that our partners in decorative materials believe, is that nobody at the level that they're working with a skilled tradesperson, an architect, a designer, should ever settle for anything in one of these homes.
Never settle,
Never.
not in a primary space.
No, it doesn't behoove anybody involved with that project to do so. You're going to live with these things for a very long time.
We hope.
We hope. Exactly, God willing. And they need to make you happy. So your choice of blue here, that's a color that simply makes you happy. So there's blue many places here. The floor, I'd like to talk about for a moment, because this floor is made out of Azul Bacaira quartzite. So quartzite is this extraordinary material that has really kind of rocked our world within the last 5 years, especially as we have really created and fully developed our capability as a purveyor of slab, not just of tile.
Right.
We created, I guess about 6 or 7 years ago now, an amazing slab gallery as part of our headquarters in Secaucus. And if you are not in an area which would allow you to drive to Secaucus, have her here. We are amazing at bringing that experience via video. Live via video, and it has worked brilliantly. We were ready before COVID occurred, and we've really maximized it during COVID. So the color that quartzites bring to our world nowadays, incredible.
Right. As I said, when we were discovering jazz glass, and the reason we loved it is the color, and the quartzites, most of which come from Brazil.
Yep.
And there are some on the west coast of Africa from when it was Pangea.
So if you folks know that with the continents, when they were all smushed together before they split and drifted, the same kind of mineral deposits occurred in both places. So now great quartzites come from Nigeria, great quartzites come from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
And quartzite is special because it's got this, you know, radical, fascinating color that just seems to glow. And they are incredibly hardworking.
So the reason I went with the Azul is because I, number one, love blue, but we have the capability in Secaucus of doing cut to size. And
which is
I wouldn't
cut to size
own,
slab.
Right. I would not own porcelain in my own personal space. I mean, fine if I wanted to do my garage in it, or maybe the basement, which is stone in my house. But I feel that porcelain gets old and stone ages. Porcelain gets a crack, you've got a crack. If stone gets a crack, you can put a fill and it can disappear. As the more you walk on stone, the more beautiful it becomes. It's natural and it's beautiful and it roots you, and I love it. So I would only consider a stone floor for out here, but I wanted color because we're outside. My swimming pool, which is older, was done with Azul Macuba and Thasos as the
tile on the scum line.
Right.
Yeah.
The tile on the scum line, and it's held up so beautifully. It's year 10 now, I believe.
It's gorgeous.
And I wanted to tie the colors together because, as Roy would tell you, when things are tied together, it's always much better. So we did the cut to size in our shop in New Jersey. And any of the quartz sites, which are so beautifully colored that you would want to use outside, we can cut them to the size you want from slab. And if you're doing a large enough space, your waste factor is minimal. I mean, you don't want to cut from slab for a 2x4 bathroom.
And they can be crated and palletized and sent out very easily.
Just as they were to here.
Like they were to here. And, you know, within 10 days, you're going to be installing tile.
Yep.
As slab. Slab as tile.
And I used the same for the shower floor, but we cut it into smaller sizes.
Smallest pieces.
We did it into 3x3 so that we could slope the drain.
You could get the pitch for the drain.
Right.
So one of the things that we are very proud of in our world of artistic tile and the world of our dealers, especially one who has been part of our world for a quarter century, which says something about both companies, I believe, is that the level of expertise that you will find within our walls and within theirs is exemplary.
Right. We didn't go into business last week.
Right. We didn't go into business last week.
And both of ours are family businesses.
And both are family businesses. And there is a solution for every challenge within the design world that comes our way. So working with an architect or a designer, we will come up with a brilliant solution, not just an adequate one, to make a space, I like to say, more beautiful than anybody dreamed it could be, because these materials can do that.
Now, one of the things that our custom cut shop has, we have a program called Tailored To, where we can customize mosaics, we can do cut to size in tiles, we can do water jet. We've got 3 water jet machines, and we can also cut slabs to size and change the finish on products. So we can do a lot of very special things that nobody's going to inventory, because nobody will make these quartzites into tiles because they're so dense, they're too hard to cut. You need a machine that can cut slab, not a tile line, to cut these. Believe me, we've tried and tried and tried.
Right.
One day, I'm sure, men walk on the moon. One day, I'm sure they'll get the machines that can cut these, but they haven't now. So cutting them with the marble cutting machines, the slab machines, is great. It's a great solution, and it just opens the door to so many more products. And let's say you love this color on the floor and you wanted it on the wall, but you love water jet patterns. We'll cut it.
Absolutely.
It's easy.
So this is
our goal is to be yes.
Right. Well, we've talked about that many times. We love being the company of yes. It keeps us on our mettle. It keeps us trying to figure out new wonderful ways to make these exceptional products a part of these kinds of projects.
Right.
You know, we love that. We love that aspect. We love finding out that someone's used a project in a way that we hadn't figured out yet, you know, and we love the architects and designers to come to us and say, I really wish I could have this over here. How can we make that happen? That's a great thing. So among the colors that so I want to talk a little bit first about the other blues that are in this space.
Okay.
Because this countertop that you see us in front of here and is behind us on the sink, this is Azul Bahia, which is a granite also from Brazil. And you know, it's all of these blues, the blues of the granite, of the quartzite, of the stocked jazz glass, of the Jazz Club Walden, they are all speaking to each other, and just effectively it's like a theme that gets orchestrated, and we love the symphony. That's really what it's like. You know, architects and designers totally have the ability to do that with many things in the home, with textiles, with wood finishes, but in our world, it's all about the combination of the stone, the glass, the ceramic. You know, that's really
putting different
what we
materials together and creating that visual stimulation that our eye so longs for.
Yeah, and you know, I heard.
Well, let's talk about color.
We can talk about color. So beyond the blue, our world over the last few years has really been suffused with green, with rose, with lilac. Inside, there is an extraordinary bar within the home. So this is a lovely bar outside, but within the living room is a bar that is the domain of Nancy's husband, Larry, who collects artisan tequilas. And you're taking a look at what we refer to as the tequila bar. That top on that bar is gorgeous, glowing, botanic green quartzite. And so that is the space. If you think about what goes on in a bar top, the lemon and the lime is going to get squeezed there all night long every time there's an event.
Well, you did mention I have 9 grandchildren,
Exactly.
and some of them are now 12, 13, and 15. And
Right.
got to tell you, every time they eat dinner over here, they end up at the bar with their plates because they just love sitting at a bar and having discussions.
Of course.
It's a gathering place that even the young guys get it, and they love to be there. And I love not having to worry about materials because I want my house to be open to my family. I want everybody to be able to enjoy it. I don't want to be like it was at my great-grandmother's and my grandmother's. Don't touch this, don't go here.
And truly, nobody at any level wants to live that way any longer. We hear that all the time in the show. I want to be able to take care of this easily. So the answer is, when it comes to materials like the quartzite, like Botanic Green, like Azul Bacaira, like Azul Macuba, that brilliant blue from Brazil, the Amazonite, so stunningly beautiful, and glass like this. So what I love about glass for backsplash is outside and inside, goodness knows, you're doing a tremendous amount of kitchen backsplashes. So the kitchen backsplash, I think, has got to make you happy. You're looking at it a lot.
It makes the kitchen.
It makes the
kitchen.
kitchen.
The cabinets are really important.
Right.
The floor is really important. But your eye is at that elevation.
One of the
most
first lessons you taught me. You said,
that's where
when you
you're
choose a
looking.
kitchen, what's in front of your face? The backsplash.
I always said backsplash
Yep.
before countertop.
Backsplash before counter. People obsess about this.
Right. And then they forget about the backsplash.
Yeah.
Which
and
is what
the
they
other
see
thing
the
you said
most
to
of.
me, it's the belt, it's not the outfit, the countertop. Because if you think about the space that it occupies in the kitchen, that's the outfit, the countertop's the belt.
Right. Exactly.
So this one, in glass, when you choose glass, you could clean this with Brillo. You could clean it with anything I can think of. Nowadays, Artistic Tile and all of our dealers offer ultra high performance grouts, which are not like your great grandmother's grout either. They have been engineered.
My great grandmother had done all of
that. They have been engineered to be especially strong and stain resistant and mildew resistant, and all kinds of wonderful things like that. So when you install glass, which is impervious, with those kinds of grouts, you can clean it with anything. You could go at it with Brillo. I always think of that's the toughest thing you could use. But think about that. Think about having something that is this beautiful and being able to take care of it without any forethought. Just take care of it, clean it, and it's beautiful again.
Well, I promise you this hasn't been cleaned yet this year. It looks pretty good for just opening up.
So the way that you compose a space, color by color by color, and all of the capability that the quartzite give us has really changed the game. You mentioned something that I really believe in, and that is that if someone comes to us, if someone comes to one of our showrooms to Decorative Materials and says, I'm flipping a house, and I kind of need to know, what are people really gravitating for, because it needs to hit the market and go. We can answer those questions because we're so exposed to what people are buying.
Absolutely.
But if you're doing a house to make you happy, if you're building your dream house, and one of the things I've discovered over the years is dream houses look different for every person who's doing the dreaming. It could be a pied-a-terre on the 90th floor in Manhattan. It could be a spread in Jackson, Wyoming. It could be any place. But that dream deserves to be fed and nurtured and really made right for that client.
It really does. It's crazy that people who aren't even planning on reselling their homes are building homes for resale.
Right, exactly.
Build for yourself. Build with products that you love. Be green.
Truly.
And the only way to be green is to build with products you love. Your installation is going to cost the same, and frequently it's the most expensive part of the project. So build with products that you love, that you want to live with, that you want to maintain.
Absolutely. So the frog pond over there that you so enjoy, the water features that are all over this home. How did you begin to conceive of all of those enhancements to the physicality of the space?
That's a good question. Well, this originally was going to be a building that we were building to have a space for my mother when she would come to visit, but she ended up with Alzheimer's and we didn't need it as a space. And since we bought the house with a swimming pool, they had never had a bathroom, a cabana. So we used a space to have a cabana because, especially with a lot of people over and young children, you want to shower them when they get out of the pool. And I wanted a bathroom that they didn't have to go in and out of the house, soaking wet. all of the time. And the other great feature, which people don't realize, is if you're down here with a child in the bathroom, you can still see the pool, which is great. So it's when there's a lot of children around, that's an important factor, because I don't believe in leaving kids. The ponds, what else could we do to make this paradise? What could be more beautiful than the water feature? What's funny is we lost all of our koi. The water drained over the winter at some point in time, and the birds came and got koi. So there's a beautiful Greek festival in our town every year, and they give away goldfish, and we won some goldfish, and they're so nice and big now, they kind of look like koi.
It's wonderful. I want to just alert folks, if you've got questions, and we certainly hope that you do have them, can you please type them into the chat function of this meeting, and we're looking forward to answering them. You know, Nancy is one of the most highly traveled persons that any of us have ever met, and she also probably at this point has forgotten more about this aspect and every other aspect of creating a home.
I'm 67 years old. We can say quite easily I have forgotten much more than what I remember.
But truly, you know, Nancy's level of expertise has inspired me in my career at Artistic Tile, and many, many, many other people. And just in terms of creating a personal space, because that's been a focus of yours as you've built this space. You wanted it to be right for you.
I'll tell you a story. When the year I got engaged, my parents sold the house I grew up in and moved out without me ever getting to go home and pick up my personal things. And that really upset me, and it continues to upset me. And I wanted my home to be a place of permanence, because I really felt that lack. And I wanted my family to be rooted, and I think it's worked. All three of my sons live within 2 minutes of our house. They all live in the same town, and oddly enough, they all live on the same street just by chance. But I don't want this house to go away. I want this house to be here. And I would hope that one of my children would want to move in one day, or it's going to generation skip. One of my grandchildren move here, because it's a beautiful piece of property, unlike many I've seen. There are many brand new gorgeous homes in this area.
It's very distinctive in this area. I think you were probably able to see some of it, but this home is painted effectively the kind of dark brown wood color that you would find in a mountain home. You know, it's very much like that.
This whole neighborhood was done with cedar siding. And we just tried to update it was shakes. So we just tried to keep it very simple, but we're one of the only homes on our street that's original.
Yes.
And we never felt a reason to tear it down, because we continually updated it, and it grew with us and our family.
And beautifully.
And I really do believe in green and products of permanence. So let's talk about color a little more.
Absolutely. So we went from so many gray and white environments, which we kind of became very used to, and, you know, in many ways was the height of sophistication for a long time, and so restrained, and so, you know, sort of very chic in that regard, and very spare in many ways. And then, as I say, it really was, to me, you know, we always had a little color. We had azul cielo marble, which is very pale blue. We had mint green, which is that lovely, almost seafoam, pale green. And then this revolution of color came into our world about 5 years ago, I'm thinking, 4 years ago. So beyond the blue, the green, the rose, lilac, which has been like the sleeper, you know, revolutionary color of all time.
Margot, like me, might remember that from the 80s,
but lilac marble, which has got this rich, deep purple veining against kind of an oyster background, is radically gorgeous and used in so many different spaces that we just adore. How do you think that color speaks to us as people?
I think everybody has a color that's their favorite color, whether it's black, whether it's white. I mean, if you have a favorite color, live with it and use it. And I think people could be a little braver outdoors maybe than they are indoors. I don't know. I certainly put together more colors than I might have indoors. Well, I shouldn't say that, because color everywhere, but it sounded good. I think people shouldn't be afraid of color. And I think that what's great for their outdoor spaces is all of these core sites give them the chance to have color again.
Yeah.
There are a few porcelain tiles that have color, and the porcelain tiles are good, supposedly, for outdoors. I wouldn't put it around the swimming pool because no matter how rough it is, I've always found them slippery. And
Well, certainly the ones that are very colorful and have a lot going on the surface tend to be much more that way than not.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But the materials that can go outside and freeze thaw are really limited.
Mhm.
So many of the stones that you see as regular stones could go outside if we brought them in a much thicker format.
Correct.
So instead of having something in the normal 3/8 inch thickness, if you would take it to 3 or 4 or 5 centimeter thick, you could then use it outside in a freeze thaw environment. The problem with it is its weight.
Yep.
And its lead time. So if you want to do a project like that, you want to do Bianca Carrera outside, decide this year for next year.
Yes.
And give yourself advanced planning, because it is possible. It's just not possible the way it's normally stocked in this country. So we always have to think of available next week or available for the future. And people giving themselves headway in time can have almost anything they want.
Yes, absolutely. The Walden that you're seeing behind us here in these beautiful blues. So we stock Walden, and I'd like to show, if we can, one of our stocked Waldens. So this beautiful design, we were originally inspired to bring to market in onyx and thassos. Exquisite Bianco onyx and very pure white thassos. So the combination of those two really light colors and
It's
what
beautiful.
they brought,
It's our very best-selling pattern.
Best-selling pattern. And we're seeing some chat right now. So here's a lovely question. Where did the inspiration, Nancy, come for the interior bar, for Larry's Tequila Bar?
Oh, that's a great story.
It is.
We were visiting, I guess, about 10 or 12 years ago. We were in Budapest, and we were at the Four Seasons Gresham Palace, and they had this bar there. And Larry, my husband, and I just absolutely fell in love with this bar. And he asked the concierge to please get him the name of the artist that did the bar, and he contacted her. And for 10 years, 12 years, whatever it was, he really wanted this bar. So he got in touch with the artist, and she made one for us. I mean, and it is spectacular. What you can't see because it zooms so quickly is we are Art Deco addicts, and the front of the bar is lit, and it is an etched glass Art Deco pattern, which is spectacular. Subsequently, the Gresham Palace no longer has this bar. Oh, you can see it a little there.
It's a great look at it.
It's wonderful. It's also a great night light in my living room at night.
And also has a little bit of Art Nouveau about it, which is
because the Gresham Palace was Art Nouveau. So it really fits in well with our home style.
So one of our questions here is, what came first in creating the space here? What was the anchor? No, I believe I know some of that answer is that this survived all the other calamities with the pergola collapsing.
So the original pergola was done, the floor was a Persian stone, a red travertine, which survived over the years beautifully. But the land we're on, for some reason, tends to shift up to like 5 inches in a year. And after many different repairs—
It's tectonic tenafly.
Tectonic tenafly. After many different years, in fact, the backsplash, it has a proper name, I forget. The coping in our pool,
yes,
which is small mosaics, is the first coping in our pool that has lasted more than 2 years.
Because of that issue.
Because of the movement,
yeah, right.
And because it's a mosaic, we might get 1 or 2 that pop off, little mosaics,
yeah.
But it's the only one that's lasted. So we get movement like this here. And we couldn't repair the floor anymore, and the product had been discontinued for years because it was down for about 15 years. So when we went to replace it, I just wanted, well, first of all, I forgot to take care of it. You know, the shoemaker's daughter. But I blue's my color, blue's my thing. And I said, we have this slab in stock, let's do it, cut the size for my space. And I loved the Walden pattern, but I wanted the colors that we could do in glass to do it. The foliage that's inside of the shower, I just think is so appropriate for outdoor spaces because it's like fallen leaves.
It's like fallen leaves.
And
correct.
mine is in a blue colorway, which is not very natural, but it comes in beige colorways and green colorways. And the jazz glass can also be all custom cut and changed
Exactly.
to a customer specification. I think that was the diamond earring that just fell. Yes.
But we know where it is.
We know where it is.
So but
I started with what remained after the roof collapsed, and what had remained was the Azul Bahia bar top and the countertop behind me. The original sink that was here was cracked by the roof falling.
By the roof falling.
And
in.
the whole wall fell forward. So it really was bad news.
What do they say when people have had work that, like, you look so refreshed? So the space has turned out so magnificently. And I remember the other one, and it was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. But this is something. This is at a higher level. It truly is.
It's at a higher level. It's
yeah.
more me.
Yeah, it is.
It's more
And
reflective
so
of who I am.
someone has asked us here about quartzite in the sun in Colorado, because the sun is very strong, and that's certainly true. Even when it's,
I think it's that way in Brazil too.
No, it is. But I have family in Colorado. My mother-in-law lives there, and she sometimes described to me hanging wash out on the line, and by the time she finished at one end, she was able to start at the other end and take it off the line and put it away, because that's how low the humidity is.
Now that I'm living in Florida, even
what that's about.
Even with the high humidity, that's what it's about.
Yeah, so we know that sun is very strong, and how will quartzite behave in that? And I think you gave us a bit of a clue when we were getting ready to do this,
right.
Because the first thing you want to do with all natural stone is seal it. Seal it once a year.
I haven't sealed this stone that's on the countertops in over 15 years.
Well, okay. So that's how to succeed in spite of yourself. But
no, you shouldn't need to seal. If you're using the right sealers, about 15 years.
Okay. But you can also test whether your stone is sufficiently sealed by the droplet test within your home. Outside here, if the water will form a droplet on top of your natural stone, it's probably sealed and you're going to have protection.
It's just like when you have a Scotch guarded fabric.
Yes.
If it beads up on the top and it doesn't get absorbed, you're fine. If it gets absorbed, you have an issue.
And sealing is super easy. Anyone can do it.
I sealed all of this myself.
You can have a tradesperson do it, or you can do it yourself. But Nancy also mentioned,
but this has changed color.
Right.
So this Bahia, this is about 20 years old.
Right.
This predicated us having the pergola.
Yes.
So we had this piece already and decided to put it in the pergola. Actually, this used to be in our showroom on Fifth Avenue. And the countertop have both faded slightly from the sun.
Right.
I could put an enhancer on it and restore the color. It's just a lighter shade of blue than it is when it's deeper. The floor, it's only been down, I think this is year 3 or 4, and it hasn't lightened at all yet.
No, it is not.
So there is a chance, but with today's chemicals and things you can put on, the enhancers would just restore the color right away.
And enhancing is not something that we recommend in most instances within the home, because the stone is absolutely beautiful.
And you rarely ever enhance a polished product.
Correct.
But the enhancer does work.
Yes, so that's the answer. Eventually, it may need a little freshening, and enhancing would be a way to do it.
Or else you water it a lot.
Right. So people have asked about the maintenance. I think we've kind of covered that.
Here's the maintenance that I do on this. Nothing. We hose it off. We wash the floor when the kids run over and there's mud all over it. Some years I power wash it if it's been especially bad winter, just like I power wash the swimming pool and my rustic stone around the pool. As far as daily maintenance, we sweep it. I haven't had an issue with the leaves falling and sitting on it for weeks at a time until they get blown off. And in the fall here with I'm surrounded by trees. We're basically in a forest. And everything is here, the acorns, the trees, the birds, the bees. In fact, I don't know if anybody noticed all the things we have for the killer bees up on our
Yes.
ceiling. But it's absolutely no maintenance. The glass is no maintenance. If it would get mildewy, I would just hit it with bleach.
Right.
There's
And
no
you can bleach
reason.
it.
Yeah,
You know, not
yeah.
just the Brillo, but the bleach.
Yeah, I'm
So-
a big bleach person.
So we were really happy, I know, to hear Margot mention how much they like getting the monthly new product introductions from Artistic Tile. We are on a meeting every week that talks about exactly how we're going to manage that and when it's going to go and what's ready now and how do we introduce it. And, you know, we do the Monday Morning Moment every Monday that launches products and explains and shares it, which I hope you all folks watch. You can catch it on Instagram.
Well, it's brilliant because you give people such great design details.
So we know that a lot of work goes into that, but the work that goes into conceiving of these things, not just we've designed a product, now we've got to get it to market, but the work that goes into conceiving of the products that begins very often with you, someplace that's not the United States of America.
Right.
You're away someplace and you're taking pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures and pictures, sometimes by yourself, sometimes with Zach, who was our chief product officer, who's your youngest son, sometimes with Jill Cohen, our vice president of design. What does that process mean to you?
Well, I love traveling because I love history. And traveling and history and tile and stone are also related to each other. They're all joined together. You can see the history of the world by what stones you find in an archaeological dig. You can know what the trade routes were, where people were going. So whenever I travel, I try to go to the cathedrals, the churches, the public buildings, the libraries, the banks, the buildings where they invested a lot for the long term. I also love window frames, doorways. I got a lot of great design ideas at the Vatican a few years ago. And I really do enjoy doing it with my grandchildren because they're learning history at the same time they're understanding what I do for a living.
Yes.
Which is great.
So you've got 9 grandchildren. Do you think that there is someone who has something of your eye in that bunch?
Yes, I
Which
do.
one?
And she'd be very happy to share it. Jordan Epstein would like to grow up and be an interior designer.
That's cool.
She loves drawing and painting and decorating rooms and places and fighting with her parents about it because they won't let her change things.
And
she's really talented.
Do you think there's one who has your entrepreneurial sense?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I don't think I was much of an entrepreneur at that age either.
Right.
So, yeah.
So
but Zachary has my entrepreneurial sense.
Without question, without question. So what you mentioned about the places that you look, well, I think you mentioned to me once that the very first thing you do nowadays is you take a guided tour.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I
think
go
that's so
someplace
interesting. You're the most sophisticated traveler I know, but you've said, that's the way I begin.
Yeah. You know, places I've been over and over and over, I frequently still take a tour of. Because there's always something I've missed. It used to be that I would just read the books and guide myself. But I found that I'm missing things and I'm at the part of my life at age 67. I may not be there again, so I don't want to miss it. So the first thing I do when I go to new places, get a tour and learn about the hidden gems, the little places, learn more of the history of the people, so that I understand the context in which the things are that I'm seeing and get a little immersed into the culture.
And I know that you've shared a great tour guide, the way that people do a fabulous restaurant. You've said, if you're going, this is the one you want to take you around.
That's true. I'm not so good at the restaurants, but I'm great at the guides.
And also, you know, what we've shared about our materials being for the long haul, but the inspiration frequently goes back so far and is still so resonant with our audience, with our clientele. The triangular mosaic, well, all of the mosaics of the cosmati,
Well, let's go back further than that. Let's go to ancient Rome.
Yeah.
Let's go to the new collection we just introduced, which we called the newest one with the black and the white.
Hudson.
And the Hudson.
Yes.
It should really be called the Masada because those mosaics were all found both in Masada and other ruins throughout Israel, which was one of the provinces of the Roman Empire, and Tunisia and Sicily. These are not new shapes.
No.
The colors we're doing ours are less colorful than what the Romans would have done.
They lived in this wild polychromatic world. Just
Right.
incredible.
I mean,
yeah.
the mosaics were a sign of wealth, and they were all outside.
Yes.
And they all
Right.
survived. They survived the earthquakes, the buildings falling, everything that went on, the mosaic survived. And it was a symbol of wealth to have all mosaic floors and walls. And that's what survived through the destruction of the centuries, the wars, the earthquakes. It's amazing to see.
So when you look at our collections, when you go to decorative materials or any of our showrooms and you see these extraordinarily intricate and geometric mosaics in these beautiful ranges of colors, you're looking at something that was inspired by something that was that interior designers in those days were using 2,000 years ago.
That's right.
It's a very meta thing, I think.
Well, one of the funniest things, and the professionals watching this will really get it, is when you show a client a design and they say, oh, that's just too contemporary, or a product. And I love when those products are like rooted from 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
I have in my own kitchen a product that we imported about 35 years ago, which is directly from San Marco, except made on a water jet instead of chiseled by hand.
Yeah.
And people used to say to me, oh, so contemporary.
Or
Okay.
when someone looks at a slab and says, oh, that slab's too contemporary for me.
Or that
Yeah.
limestone's not going to last.
Right, limestone's not going to last. Exactly. So we're probably getting to the end of our conversation here. We would love to bring in more questions from you folks. If you've got them for us, please do share. I'll give you a second. Don't be shy. So Nancy, if you could get on a jet tomorrow.
I'm waiting
And
till
cro-
Sunday,
and
and I'm
cro-
going to Italy.
Are you going to go?
I'm going.
No, she's
I
going.
booked it last
She's
night.
going slab shopping.
I'm going slab shopping. I am. I have to replace 2 bathrooms in my house, and we moved to Florida for most of the year. And I bought an apartment with a porcelain bathroom. And that can't stay.
Say it ain't so. Question from Kirsten. Well, we would love to ask that question. So you are one of 3 sisters, and you're especially close to those sisters. And you were very close to your mother-in-law. And I am curious about the power and the strength that women get from each other. Has that been especially important in your life? And what do you think that means to you?
Being the mother of 3 sons, women were very important to me. I think that women have a vision that many men don't have, and understand. I don't know about men. I dream about my childhood home all of the time.
Really?
I'm always in my childhood
Wow.
home. I close my eyes. I remember my bedroom. I remember my bathroom. I'm always there. And that rooting that is family, I think, is so important to women. And I think we sort of just understand that about each other. And I think that women can inspire other women to do more and be stronger and work harder. And there isn't anything we can't do as women.
Absolutely.
It's funny because people always say, well, what struggles did you have as a woman in business? Well, when I was selling only plumbing, the struggle was men wouldn't believe me. So even though I understood plumbing completely, I had to have a man that sat there and he would speak to the plumber on the phone. And when I deal with vendors from certain countries, they wonder why I'm in their booth and what I'm shopping for. So, you know, I've gotten past that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't bother me. It's just cultural. And I really haven't found major problems. The biggest problem I've had as a woman in business was getting credit from a bank and establishing a line of credit. At the size of the business that we are, banks would never ask a man for personal guarantee.
Wow.
They always ask women. Oh, and looking for real estate. When you're looking for commercial real estate brokers tend to ignore women in this area of the country. So they always think I'm going to open a nail boutique.
Well, judging from the way that you evolved from what was it called? Artistic Bath back a
Artistic
zillion
Bath.
years ago, and Accessories Plus before that,
Additions
right? Yeah.
Plus,
Additions
Additions
Plus,
Plus.
yeah. It would,
Good memory,
it would be a nail salon that would soon be the #1 cosmetic company in the whole world. So
Mm.
that's what I think. So
Well, if
we-
I wasn't in the tile business, then I would be a travel agent. And if that didn't work, I would sell makeup. I love makeup. Jewelry. We forgot about jewelry. That's the true addiction.
That's true. But you said to me once, jewelry will tell you about a culture.
It will.
It will tell you what you need to know about the culture, and that
Well,
is
that's
so
why it's
true.
on display in museums.
Absolutely. So
And this one inspired our Xanadu.
Xanadu.
This
Exactly.
was the inspiration for Xanadu.
It sure did. So, Nancy, as always, this was a jewel of a moment with you. It always is. So
Thank all of you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody out in Colorado. We have been thrilled to be a part of the Denver Design Center's event, and we're always thrilled to be a part of the world at Decorative Materials with Margot and with Kirsten. So without further ado, thank you all so much. You can catch me every Monday on the Monday Morning Moment, and maybe we can persuade Nancy to come and join us sometime soon. So for Nancy Epstein and for me, Roy Marcus, thank you for joining us. Please join us again the next time we can get together.
Thank you. See you on the slopes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, we're off.
Thank you.
Nobody spoke to this.